Well, I can't say that I hold out a whole lot of hope that you'll have much of an answer to this, but I just want to, I want to ask what you guys make of the whole Putin, Kim, Jong-un thing, what it means for, what it means to you, or what it suggests to you about the state of the Russian war machine, and also what it means in terms of North Korea.
I'll say a few things about it. First, I think it's important to put it in overall context, which is a year and a half ago, President Putin launched this war against Ukraine with its full-scale aggression with a dream of restoring the glory of the Russian Empire. That hope, that expectation of his has failed. It will continue to fail. And I think there's no better evidence of that than now, a year and a half later. Not only has he failed to achieve his goals on the battlefield, but you see him traveling across his own country, hat in hand, to beg Kim Jong-un for military assistance. And the fact that it comes just after the G20 this weekend, where President Biden was there meeting with his fellow counterparts, leaders of major countries in the world, and President Putin was nowhere to be found, I think largely because of his own international pariah status that he has foisted upon himself through his actions. So in terms of what it means going forward, I think obviously it means that he is having trouble sustaining the military effort, and so is looking for help from North Korea. And in terms of what our reaction will be to it, so we're going to monitor very closely the outcome of this meeting. I will remind both countries that any transfer of arms from North Korea to Russia would be in violation of multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions. And we, of course, have aggressively enforced our sanctions against entities that fund Russia's war effort, and we will continue to enforce those sanctions and will not hesitate to impose new sanctions if appropriate.
On North Korea?
I think I want to wait and see what the outcome of the meeting is before speculating, but we have always looked to impose sanctions and hold accountable countries or entities that fund Russia's war effort.
Before I ask one more on this, just, you know, how many entities are there left in North Korea that don't have U.S. sanctions?
That's a good question. I'm not able to answer.
Are there any?
I am sure that there are, but
I mean, maybe
I don't have
there's
it.
a corner store in downtown Pyongyang.
I've not been to Pyongyang recently, so I can't. I honestly don't know.
I haven't been either, but I have been twice, and there are stores there that still sell Pepsi and Coke and stuff like that. At least there were. So, yeah. I just, you know, if you're going to impose more sanctions on North Korea, I don't understand why that's.
No, look,
is it a punishment or is it an attempt to be a deterrent? Because it's not working if it's.
I think. Look, I will actually say, with respect to our overall sanctions, I think the fact that Russia is having to beg North Korea for military support speaks to the effectiveness of our sanctions and our export controls, that they have been denied the technology they need and the raw materials they need to fund to sustain this war effort.
The second part of my question, and I'll stop after this, is that you have used the word beg twice now. What makes you think that he's actually begging? Don't the Russians have anything to offer the North Koreans that the North Koreans might want?
That may be the outcome of this meeting.
Why do you use the word beg?
I think it's fair to say that having to travel across the length of his own country to ask.
But it's still his own country.
Yeah,
so,
I know. To meet with an international pariah, to ask for assistance in a war that he expected to win in the opening month. Look, I would characterize it as him begging for assistance. Now we'll see. There may be something that he offers in exchange. We'll see what it comes. We'll monitor it very closely.
Okay. Well, and if there is an exchange, will you still think that that's begging?
Why don't we wait and see? I'll wait and see what happens and characterize it after. After we
won't wait because you already did characterize it like 3 times.
Fair enough. Let's before we pass any further judgment, let's wait. I stand by my characterization.
All right. Well,
I'll add any further characterization when we see the outcome of the meeting.
You don't have any information, or at least information that you can share about what North Korea might get in return for this assistance. Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Do you have any notion or knowledge of what kind of equipment that Russia is begging for?
I'm going to wait. Let's wait and see what the meeting shows.
Let's say a statement saying that we are going to North Korea to get some weapons? from
I'm
the
sorry,
Russian?
what?
I mean, how did you conclude that the president of Russia is meeting with the president of North Korea for, asking for weapons?
I don't think it's a social gathering, Saeed.
No, I'm just saying, okay.
So,
but you could-
so,
Maybe it's something else.
We shall see. I will happily eat my words if it turns out to not to
Okay.
be, but let's.
They might
me
have
just-
tea
let
and
me
ride
just-
white horses around. you know.
Perhaps.
Let me just, I have a quick follow-up. And now you're saying that the Russians have strategically failed. But, looking at what's going on, then we see that Russia is holding the territory that it went out to hold. Their economy has improved a lot since last year, So I don't see where, while the counteroffensive, by all assessment, had failed. I mean, just educate us on how you see that Russia has failed.
You are conflating a number of things here, and I will take them in some attempted order. I will say, first of all, with respect to Russia's overall strategic failure, you have to remember what Russia's goals were. And their goals were to take Kyiv, to take the majority, if not all of the country, to overthrow the democratically elected government of Ukraine. All of those things have failed. They occupied a certain amount of the country. The Ukrainians have taken back around 50% of the country that Russia occupied at the height of its full-scale invasion. And you've seen the Ukrainians continue to make to continue to show tangible results in taking back territory from the Russians, both in their efforts last year in the counteroffensive that they launched last fall, and in the counteroffensive that they launched in the past month or two that is ongoing. Secretary Blinken was just in Ukraine, as you know, discussed this exact question with the Ukrainians, was briefed on the results that they are showing, and we have seen those results accelerate. Now, that doesn't mean that the outcome is certain. Obviously, war is difficult, and the Ukrainian military is facing dug-in, entrenched Russian forces. But number one, Russia's goals have failed in every way since the outcome of this war. And number two, we continue to assess that the Ukrainians are making progress in their counteroffensive, and we have confidence in the ability of their forces. Camara.